Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of Blue Painter and writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, caution, enticing draft picks ahead, but injury issues lurk in the shadows. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And ladies and gentlemen, how about this? Episode number 77. Holy smokes. Wow. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you very much, Lance. Mucho appreciado for you being here, my man, and being the host with the most.
Right.
Here we go, episode number 77. Caution. Enticing draft picks ahead, but injury issues lurk in the shadows. Sorry, I did that little thing there myself. Anyway, that's episode number 77. And Lance, you put out a super article that I have to tell you, man, just posted out to the Flyers Nitty Gritty website just the other day. And written by our extreme writer extraordinaire, and he exposes the truth about two potential top 5 prospects who are enticing, but the Flyers should be hesitant about drafting this offseason. And Lance, as you point out, this year's draft is very, very important for the team. And so, was that the inspiration behind this article, or?
Well, it in part, yes. Like we've talked about on previous shows, the Flyers have to get this one right. There is no star player in town anymore. Giroux has packed his bags, and he's seemingly not coming back because the Flyers simply don't have the cap space, unless he's going to take a very big hit to come back. And honestly, I think with the success
like
that he's
hit.
Right, financially, and honestly, he looks pretty happy in Florida right now. So
I mean, yeah.
Let's. I think we have to move on there, and
Yep.
you know, this too being with like I mentioned in the article, with previous draft picks like Nolan Patrick, who the Flyers went out and spent a second overall pick on in 2017. Because they thought he was the best available player. He was the perennial number 1 pick for some time, most people thought, leading up to the draft. And he dealt with some injuries. And he had to have a surgery immediately upon being drafted. And it really was misdiagnosed for some time. And then, it was a double sports hernia. And while not the most injury, high up on the injury list of, unforeseeable futures and everything like that, it led to a injury history with some concussions and everything, all different injuries. And they're ongoing even now that he's not with the Flyers anymore. He did not play many games this year in Vegas. Yeah.
Nope.
So, nope. And that's what the Flyers can't do this time around. They can't take a risk on a guy who has been injured already and possibly now going to have a problem in the future. They have to be 100% certain.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And when you can't. It's like, it doesn't figure that the Flyers get a 5th overall pick in a year, in a draft year, when it's like, wow, all right, can we trade this for next year? Can we have this next year with a 5th overall pick next year, right? Or, maybe we should do that. We should, be able to get that 5th overall pick next year too.
Yeah, it's the Flyers' luck, I guess.
Because
let's
face it.
when they had Patrick, it wasn't the greatest draft haul besides, Colorado got, of course.
I mean, come
one of the
on.
best players in the league right now. You can watch on any given night in the postseason, but that's in the past now, and the Flyers need to focus on this draft and trying to select a player that is going to be able to compete and play possibly even next season. If it's a top 5 pick, it needs to be able to be a guy who can produce next year. And if you draft the right people, they can be. If you look at last year draft, there's plenty of people that were drafted in the teens. Cole Sillinger, wasn't drafted in the top 5 picks, but he was.
Yeah, but he's a pretty good player. Yeah,
he's playing in the NHL already. I believe there's a young gentleman in Carolina who's still playing right now, who was drafted as well. So there's some picks there, and not just the ones in the first 1, 2, 3 guys like most seasons. So teams are effective that are drafting well and have drafted well for some time are able to find those guys. And the Flyers need to get better at this. And they can't jump at these 2 potential players that we're going to talk about without being absolutely certain that they are going to be, the guy for them and 100% healthy.
Well, I don't have the warm and fuzzies about the current administration that's going to get that done, man. Like, I'm looking at these 2 picks, and it's like, man, these are just like sweet, dangling, low-hanging fruit, that's got the shelf life of about a gnat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm so with you, because the last time the Flyers had any kind of a decent number 1 draft pick was JVR.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And JVR wasn't the be-all, end-all neither.
No. And that year we were supposed to get Patrick Kane, but the draft lottery didn't allow us to do that. So we ended up with JVR, and while he has produced in his career, it's very inconsistent player. He's on it when he's on it, but when he's not, it goes for weeks where he's non-existent on the ice surface. Yeah, invisible.
Yeah. No, so I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? So it's like, and now we've got this current group of management now, and I just see this happening, man. But as soon as I read this article, Lance, and I read about these guys, I was like, these will be the guys that'll be on the top of the board for the Flyers, because they're like, they're exactly what we need. All right. So let's talk about the cherry coating first. Okay, so let's talk about the cherry coating, about David Jiricek.
Yes, very good pronunciation.
There you go. Thank you. See, practice makes perfect. Okay, tell me about David Jiricek that should scare the Flyers away.
All right, I thought you
said the cherry coating. Right, give me the cherry coating, and then give me the what's going to scare him away.
All right. So,
okay.
All right. Obviously, the Flyers need help on the right-hand side, right? They have an uncertainty there with Ryan Ellis, of course, the big guy we went out and got that was supposed to be the guy to help Provorov along. Yeah, we all know how that worked out. So this guy, a right-hand shooting blue liner, 6'3", 190 pounds, right?
Oh, stop. Stop!
Yep, yeah, he was 17, I think, this season, playing in Czech Republic's top professional league already, and did pretty well there. And just very physical defenseman, has one of the best one-timers in this draft. Looks like the guy that we need. Obviously, the number 1 guy we need, right? The only thing that I would say in his game that I think he needs to fix would be he needs to elongate his stride. He's a little bit short and choppy, which is good to get going most of the time. But to be able to keep up with the guys and the pace of the NHL, if he's gonna come over,
stride.
he needs a little bit longer stride.
Yeah.
But that can be fixed, I think. So with all this being said,
That's some nice cherry coating.
boom, right? I mean, that seems like the guy for us at 5, right? Well,
all right, now let's do the wah wah wah.
Well, let's if you looked at the article and you read the article, there's the actual video of this happening.
Yeah.
But so David was playing Canada and during the season, and he ran into a guy who I had on my draft board for the Flyers and on my mock drafts, Mr. Will Cooley.
Yeah.
And big physical offenseman with a shot, and it didn't go too well for David. He ended up sustaining a major knee surgery that needed, or a major knee injury that needed surgery to fix. Scary for a guy, that's only 18 years old.
It was a knee-to-knee hit.
Yeah, it was a pretty nasty hit.
It was pretty nasty.
Not intentional, just two guys going for the puck, but it didn't end up well. And Juracek missed, considerable time, and he had to have that knee repaired. But all of this too, being even more cautious in my mind, the Flyers should be, because the recent announcement of Sam Morin, a former 2013 first-round pick of the Flyers, big physical defenseman like Juracek, and he's now career-ended injury after he couldn't come back from his third consecutive knee surgery.
So he didn't just have knee surgery,
right?
All right, Sam Morin had 3 completely blown ACLs, right? One in each knee, and then one in one of the same knees.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he just had knee surgery, like you got scoped.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
He did it big. Yeah, he did it big.
Right.
So that is why I would say the Flyers have to be cautious. They have to do their homework. If they want this kid, he would have probably been the first defenseman off the board and possibly the top 3 in my mind before this knee injury. Possibly even number 2 overall. He was that highly regarded because obviously right-hand shot defenseman. Before this draft, there's a lot of them in this draft, but
and over 6'1",
right over that 6 foot mark, and
on his way to 200 pounds.
Solid kid, and just had all the intangibles to be great. And they really got to be cautious of this guy because it's a lot to risk out there. You don't get a top 5 pick every year,
exactly,
guys, unless you're the Buffalo Sabres or somebody like that, or
the New York Rangers.
Yeah, so teams that are constantly in a rebuild state, but that's why I would say you have to be cautious of this if you're the Flyers. There's already been questions on their medical staff and their doctors that a certain writer brought up earlier in the year. If you read that article,
hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. So they just really need to be cautious. I'm scared if they draft this kid. I'm scared that he's going to be an issue. Hopefully he's 100% healthy for his mindset, but I wouldn't risk it. I would go another route for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start off by saying this. Drafting a player that's already had a major knee surgery before their 19th birthday.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that. Okay, especially if I'm going to be looking for this player to be playing top 6 minutes or a top 4 minutes as far as defenseman. He's a right-hand shot defenseman, so I need him out there on the power play. I need him out there on the penalty kill. You know what I mean? I need him in all the situations. Blah 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 blah.
And skating was a big part of his game. Skating was a big part of his game. He was mobile on that blue line, and I don't know if he'll be as mobile now, or say 5 years down the road. Because if you think about it, yes, he's 18, he's an adult, but guys aren't fully developed into their bodies into the early 20s. And if that growth plate, and if he still hasn't hit that last growth spurt and all that other stuff, that could be dangerous. One side continuing to grow healthy and one side not so much, and it could really reel up some
yeah, buddy,
dangerous
and then here you are,
aspects down the road.
2-3 years down the road, this guy can't even walk or whatever.
It has to go
you
back
got a
under the
Sam
knife
Moran
again.
thing going on again.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's one potential player off the list, which that Chuck is frothing at the mouth at, because, well, that would, if he were to hit on that pick, that would redeem Chuck. Whatever.
Maybe. That'd be his first round pick that he's actually hit on.
Like I said, that would redeem Chuck. Yeah. Right?
The verdict's still out on the other guys, but doesn't.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to jump in the lineup as of yet. So
I'm still kind of going with that whole mindset that things are gonna just completely change in December anyway. So it really doesn't matter who these guys pick, man, because it's all gonna be. It's like, I feel like the song from I can't think of the Talking Heads, right? Burning down the house.
That's what they're doing.
Right. Anyhow,
stoking it up right now.
So the next player that's on your list in the article is
Joakim Kael.
Right, Joakim Kael. But I want to know why the Flyers brass should stay away from this player first, and then give me why they would be salivating.
All right.
So let's do it the opposite way we did the first one. So peel back the cherry coating and give me the real goo in the middle, and then let's see what the cherry coating is.
All right. So Kael, he started the season playing in the SHL, SHL, I'm sorry, the Liga, in Finland. Finland. And he was a very strong player right out the chute, but sustained a shoulder injury, not to the extent where he needed surgery, but he did miss a month of the season. Mm-hmm. And to go along with that, once he came back into the lineup, he didn't seem quite like the same player, able to put up points as he once was.
Yeah.
And then he went to the World Juniors, and it seemed like he either re-injured that injury or sustained another injury that he was able to play through, but wasn't the same guy that he was at the start of the season for the rest of the season, for the rest of the year, this season. And so, why the Flyers would be willing to go that route, even after hearing that. This kid at just 17 years old was able to play in Finland's top league. Yeah. And
the Liga is definitely, all that and a bag of unbroken Doritos. That doesn't get any more serious than that, especially, for Finland.
So he's a forward. He's a natural scoring threat. He's an absolute sniper, 5'11", 176 pounds. Most guys from Finland are a little bit lighter until they fill out. But he's a shooter, and that's what the Flyers need. At 17, he was able to score 18 points in the first 16 games of the season this year.
Yeah.
All right. That's in a defensive league, usually, where guys don't end up scoring that many points. Mm-hmm. He was up over a point a game as a 17-year-old in Finland's top league this year. Okay.
So that's why pretty much men.
Yeah. Right. So that's solid guys, that he's going up against, men every single night. Mm-hmm. And, He was player of the month in October. He got hurt at the very tail end of October, and he just wasn't the same ever since. But that small look that teams had of him might be enough to, and still is enough to have him slotted to go in the top 5 to 8 players in this draft. And, the things he does great. I mean, like I said, he's a shooter. He can stick handle through everybody. His poise
He's only 5'11", though.
He's 5'11", but I mean, I'll take it for his talent, for his stick skills. I mean, Dasuk wasn't that. I
mean, that's 6 foot on skates.
Right, 6 foot on skates. Let's go with that. But his poise is what really gets him. That's why he's able to elude certain checks and stuff like that, because he sees the ice very well. He's got that poise of a 10-year veteran out there. For most of the year, if you guys watch any European hockey, you'll know what the golden helmet is. And the golden helmet is the team's point leader. So basically,
yes, sir.
They have a target on their heads, literally, because the team can just look in a quick glance and notice that golden helmet and realize that is the best player on this team that I got to watch. So Kael pretty much had that since inception, start of the season this year, given to him until he got hurt, because he had such a jump out of the box, year. So he had an early target on him for sure. But I think that the Flyers just, again, with this prospect, he didn't require surgery. Yeah. But my thinking was maybe, this team that he's on, I don't want to say anything bad about this team because obviously I don't know a whole lot, but maybe they knew that they were going to have to get the most out of him this year, because they knew with the type of talent he had that he would be gone quick, fast, in a hurry with the draft. And maybe they delayed surgery, and, he could have got surgery done and out. Again, I'm not privy to his medical files, but it's something that the Flyers, I think, need to look at in deep, comparison to, other aspects or players they've had deal with similar injuries, and see where he is. I think it could be very risky still, even though he didn't have surgery. Sean Couturier is another guy. He didn't have shoulder surgery, but he had his sternum separate from his ribs, which is very painful and long recovery. And then, he had issues last season and as well, and he's played in very few games with some upper body injuries the past 2 seasons. And, he of course has had years in the league. But it seems to be an ongoing thing for him now, even after the Flyers just signed him to a huge contract. It's kind of scary where his future is going to go now with so many upper body injuries. Now, again, Joakim is only 17, 18 years old and having shoulder injuries already, and which could play, very, very bad for him down the road if they're lingering injuries or reoccurring injuries,
especially if he didn't have surgery.
Right, especially if he didn't have surgery to repair them. He could be just in there tearing up ligaments and everything else, whatever the case may be, grinding bone on bone, creating more scar tissue, yes, and building up on something that should have been fixed this season. Again, I don't know if it's true, but the Flyers need to take a good long look at this player and his medical file before drafting him, on just what he was able to do throughout the first month or 2 of the season before he sustained this injury.
Because I don't want to see them having to do what they did with Patrick. And before Patrick was even drafted, there was basically, they weren't really coming out and saying it, but everybody pretty much knew that he was going to have surgery before he was even going to be able to play.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to start off like that.
I don't, and we can't. The Flyers can't as a whole. They need somebody for the fan base to believe in. They need a face of the franchise. This is their chance to get somebody in there that could be there for the next 10 years, or at least should be. And they can't get this pick wrong. They can't get this
No,
pick wrong. So
'cause
if
they
there's
don't have
any
anything.
question, now, if there's any question on health, of this player, whoever they're going to select, they need to pass on them, regardless of how good they may be, and get a quality guy that is healthy and has been healthy throughout his junior career, or coming up through whatever league he's been playing in, and
Yeah, really.
reliable at this point. The Flyers have far too many players that have the injury bug digging at them the past couple seasons, and they need to hit a home run with this pick for sure.
And you pointed it out and said it earlier in the show too. Philadelphia doesn't necessarily have a stellar reputation for the best medical staff going neither. And there's a lot of players that seemingly have the same injury year after year after year. And I'm just so sick and tired of that. I'm so sick and tired of seeing the groin injuries. I'm so sick and tired of seeing the core muscle injuries and surgeries and everything. It's like, well, what aren't you doing with these guys? What exercise aren't you making them do that's working that core muscle?
Knee injuries, yeah. How many times did it's been like a year or something for Sam Moran and other players who have had knee surgeries at a young age, and then come back only to get re-injured in a less than 10 game time span.
I'm going to tell you something, man. Okay, look, I have never skated in anger. I have never even had hockey skates on my feet. Okay, never. But I played football from the time that I was about 7 years old to the time I was 18. Okay. And in that time, I had multiple knee surgeries because I had multiple knee injuries. And I've had every single knee injury that you could possibly think of, except a torn ACL. Now, over years and times with the arthritis and everything else, my ACL was barely hanging on by a thread. So when I got it replaced, hey, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I have a fake one now. You know what I'm saying, right?
I do. I tried not to go to the doctor because the harsh reality is I'm too young and I don't want to start down that road already.
Okay, so that's where I was. I was, right? So that's what happens when you start having. I started having surgeries when I was 12.
I was told I needed it at 15, but I just didn't go back since then.
Okay, so I started at 12. And most of the experience that I've had when you're that young and you have surgery to your knee, whether you're fixing a meniscus tear or whatever the case, whatever it is, and especially if it's a major knee injury or a shoulder injury, and then you didn't get surgery on it. Well, if you didn't get surgery on it on something like that, then it builds up the scar tissue when it heals. And then that means that it doesn't necessarily heal as correctly as it should. Per se.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
How many surgeries are you up to now on your knees?
All day I'm at 32.
Yeah.
Okay, all day, right? But that's not all of them are on my knee. I've had 3 ankle surgeries now on that same leg. but anyway. But that's what I'm trying to point out is that once you start having surgeries,
that's what I was getting at too.
once you start cutting into the body, once you start having those kinds of injuries, now you're prone to having it again. That area is going to be a target of weakness now, right? Where anything that the first thing that's going to break down on your body is going to be that part, right? And if you're a shoulder and you're a sniper and your shoulders are going, well, that means you can't shoot the puck, right? And if you're a defenseman and your knees are going, well, then you can't really defend.
You can't turn and
Or
transition.
whatever.
Yeah, you can't turn and
Whatever.
transition to get back. And yeah, it's rough. And it's just it's a rough place to start from square one and investing in such a high pick in a player that already has started down that road.
You're already on the gurney, right? You just got selected 5th overall and you're already on the frickin' gurney. Like, wait, what? But you haven't even skated for us yet.
Yes.
What? Wait, hold on a second. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, what's gonna probably end up happening, right? Is they'll probably, if they do draft one of these players, especially
Juracek.
Oh, yeah, no. The other one. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Kael.
Yeah, Kael. If they draft Kael, they're probably going to give him surgery on his shoulder. They'll probably look at it and give him an MRI. I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I don't know. So that's the thing. There's too many players out there that can provide depth for a team in this year's draft, and to waste a 5th round draft pick on somebody that's already got a medical file, to me, is a big giant red flag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was the whole point of this article for sure.
I mean, I get it. I know that some of these players are going to be enticing. He's a right-hand shot defenseman. He's a, true sniper and blah, blah, blah. And, Philadelphia has not had a guy that – Philadelphia's not had a gold helmet guy for a very, very long time. And what I mean by that is a guy that when he steps out onto the ice – you better have your head on a swivel, because he's going to either score or take your head off.
Right.
Right? And who was the last person that was that guy for Philadelphia?
You want my opinion?
Yeah.
I would say Eric Lindros or John LeClair, really.
Okay.
I mean, Jeff Carter was great for a year or two, but it wasn't consistent. Yeah, it wasn't consistent.
He wasn't that, like, when Sidney Crosby steps out on the ice, when Draisaitl steps out on the ice, when McDavid steps out on the ice, when Gaudreau steps out on the ice, when Matthews steps out on the ice, you better have your head on the swivel bin, know where that guy is at all times.
Yeah.
Philadelphia hasn't had one of those types of players since exactly when I think you're saying. You know what I mean? The Lindros era. Lindros was the guy, he was just one of those guys. And Philadelphia needs that type of player to be able to do anything serious with. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
And so until they get that player, and that's going to be another guy that they can hang from the banner too. That's going to be a face of the franchise and whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, listen, I don't know about you folks, but I'm scared. This offseason, I am scared. Like, seriously. Help me, Lance. Tell me it's going to be all better.
I can't.
You can't.
I think I'm waiting till. I think I'm waiting till December, until the changing of the guard. When they've already lost, 20 games or something.
Man, I'm telling you what. Look,
it's gonna get worse before it gets better, I think.
It has to. The first thing that they tell people that go through the 12-step program, or whatever the case is. And I'm not trying to belittle anybody that goes through that. or anything like that, because we all have our own demons, and we all have to, face them the best way that we can. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, but I don't know, man. When you just have the track record that the Flyers organization has right now, it just doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. It just really doesn't. You know what I mean?
So what do they do? What do they do in the future? Well, I heard a rumor that Mr. Barry Trotz was going to be interviewed. We talked about that in a previous show with the possibility, but it seems like an actual possibility now. Yes?
Well, so yeah. So the last show was the Hot to Trotz show with the Flyers faithful being. But okay, so I've heard some different things. I've read some different things, and so it appears that Barry Trotz is going to at least interview for the Flyers position. And so, all right.
I think Winnipeg wants him as well. Or at least is going to plan to interview him. So
if you are a team looking for a coach and Barry Trotz is not on the list of candidates to interview, then you need to have a different conversation. Right. Okay. Okay, you know what I mean? So the fact that Barry Trotz is like, the hottest commodity going right now for Philadelphia, beyond anything other than, player wise or anything like that, that's just not how that's going to work. So,
well I don't know. It could be a lot worse than if the Flyers sign Barry Trotz. Like we said before, do I think it's the long-term answer? No, I don't. Do I think he could help that reconstruct that defense to be something better than they were this past 2 seasons? Yes, I do.
Okay. So you'd be all for having, like, if they were to interview him and hire him,
I would say all for. I'd be okay with it, given who's out there on the market. Yeah. Peter DeBoer just got released as well. I'm not a huge fan of his, but his numbers are impressive as far as his win percentages and stuff like that. I think he was able to do very good things for Vegas right out the gate.
With a very young team and
young team and a team just thrown together within the last couple of years. And basically picked from scraps. So I don't know. There's definitely some people that I would interview if I were in the position to hire the next Flyers coach. But Barry Trotz, like you said, would definitely be on that short list of people, given his, ability to be a coach in the NHL a successful coach in the NHL for so long.
Okay, so you would be okay if the Flyers hired Barry Trotz?
It would be the lesser of quite a few evils in my mind, as we said, Rick Tocchet and everything else. So I don't want to go that route for sure.
See, and I still, even with the list of coaches that are now available, I still think he's going to be that guy that, because look, the great Isaiah from OMB Podcast said that this is Chuck's. I mean, this has to be it for Chuck.
Yeah, it's his last pick. It's his last coach
This has
choice.
to be, whoever it has to. I mean, so obviously he's going to have a blank check to, pick whoever he wants to pick.
He gave that to AV and made him one of the highest paid coaches, and he wasn't the guy apparently.
No.
So it looks like he's going to try to do that again and go out and get somebody. Obviously. So,
and you're going to have to get somebody whom, if it is going to be a blank check, it's going to have to be a guy like Barry Trotz or Paul Maurice or Jim Montgomery or any of the plethora of coaches that are available, a la Rick Tocchet. Look, that's just how it's going to have to be. You're going to have to bring somebody in who's going to garner that kind of money.
That stomach acid just came up in my throat
I'm
when you
sorry.
said Rick Taka.
Yeah, I know, right? That just
No
that
more
makes
X-Flyers. Please, no more X-Flyers.
Lance, I really hate to say this, man, but I just have that sick feeling, like
And
you
no
just
more
explained.
no more Minnesota Wild either.
That sick feeling that it's right here, that it's just going to be, the next coach of the Philadelphia Flyers is Rick Tuckett. Oh, thanks, Rick. Thanks, brother. Coming back home. Oh, the savior. Oh, thank you. And hugs. And everybody's going to dance and sing and whatever.
Thank you.
I that's why I have no confidence in the current administration for who they're going to pick as coach. I have no confidence in who they're going to pick in the draft this year because of the track record, not just of the past. Okay. But if you look at what Chuck's number one draft picks have been to this point, right? Still, none of them are playing in the NHL, right? Are they? I mean, the two guys that he drafted in the first round, Cam York's played a little bit, right? That's about it.
That's it.
Yeah, nobody else has played.
I was really big on Tyson Forrester, but
I was too.
But how much of that goes into the player development that we talked about?
See, there you go, right? So it's like if you are able to pick these great draft picks, like it seems like the Flyers do, right? Like, let's face it, over the last couple of years, Couturier, Konechny, have been pretty good draft picks that have come in. Ivan Provorov, pretty good draft pick that's come in. These are players that were good prospects, good draft picks when they came in, and then they got to the Flyers, and now it's like it's stinking up the place. I'm not saying that Couturier is stinking up the place, but you get what I'm saying. It's like
Carter Hart, yeah.
Yeah, these guys were all drafted in the early parts of the first, couple rounds, and they're barely trickling in. And then when they are there, it's like, well, gosh, can you stay healthy to stay in? And then the medical staff is in question, and then the development staff is in question, and then the minor league team is in question, and the minor league coach is in question, and
a lot of head scratching going on in Philly. Yep.
You know what? I just want to ask this question. Calgary last year, in a COVID-shortened season, even halfway through the year, said, all right, we're pulling the plug, and they just cleaned house. Right? Halfway through the season, brought in a new general manager, right? And then brought in a new coach. And then the general manager went and did all the things that he needed to do to make that team successful. Brought in the coach that he felt could make that team successful. And Daryl Sutter, however you want to say his name. And this team, Calgary, right now, okay, is playing like, seriously, where did this team come from compared to where they were last year? Okay, they are the dark horse, darling Cinderella team of this year. Is Calgary. All you have to do is look at Markstrom and how well he's played, right? And now the Battle of Alberta is now officially a
thing again, yeah.
No, but it's also officially the series, right? So that's the second round series now. Is the Battle of Alberta? Edmonton and Calgary now. So
yeah.
Do you think that Barry Trotz is going to be hired?
I don't know.
What do you think would want to make Barry Trotz come here? What would be enticing for a guy like Barry Trotz to want to come here?
Not much.
Would be enticing all day to want to bring somebody here? Obviously, the money. But you got to, I mean, you can't just say, yeah, all right, cool, I'm making $5 or $6 million a year, but
he's been a coach for a long, long time. I don't think he really needs the money anymore.
That's what I mean.
Right. So what else is enticing here? Not much. They have some youth, but a lot of them are second tier guys. As Philadelphia always does, they overvaluate their talent, trying to propagate
Really?
and make something that they're not.
Overvaluate
because
talent.
because they don't have that kind of talent that they once did with, the Lindrosses of the world or Jeff Carter anymore or somebody like that. But I don't know. I think that they waited too long. They don't have any clear direction in my mind. How do you go from firing a coach middle of the season, not having any clear direction of where to go, what way you want to move the team in the future, just let the team suffer and drown for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And limp through the year with a less than stellar coach that you knew you were going to replace at year's end anyway.
I mean, they
why
couldn't
not
have that press conference fast enough.
Why not go out there and make a change and make it happen like Calgary did, like Vancouver did with Boudreau? Something, get a direction, a new way of movement, and give the fan base something to look forward to rather than stinking it up for the season. And still, to this point, a lot of coaches are being fired right now, and the season has ended and they're only now just starting to interview coaches, and they really didn't say whether Mike Yeo was even all the way out the door. He's still kind of hanging around somewhat, but we know he's not going to be the head coach anymore. So I think the Flyers in general just leave players, now coaches, kind of unaware of what spot or position they're going to hold in the future. They did it with Morgan Frost. He doesn't know whether he's going to be a center. He doesn't know whether he's going to be a wing. He doesn't even know if he's going to be with a team next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have an exit interview with the general manager, that's a problem.
Right. Why isn't that with a head coach? Because they didn't have a head coach.
Head coach, yeah, they fired him. And they didn't hire another one. And you mean to tell me that even after all this time, that you knew that Mike Yeo was going to be a lame duck coach?
You never took that interim tag off.
Now conducting interviews? I'm shocked, nay, appalled that this team is not prepared to be. Once again,
not prepared.
Once again, out-coached, out-shined, out-muscled, out-intelligenced, out everything. This entire Flyers organization needs to look in the mirror and punch itself in the face.
So with that, let's enter them into this next thing. The news coming out today that the Flyers re-signed Nickzieler. What do you think?
What do you think? Really proves they have no clue what they're doing.
All right.
2 years, right, Nickzieler?
2 years, two-way deal. $775,000.
All right.
What's your take on it?
Phantoms. He'll play for the Phantoms.
Okay.
Look, I can't believe that they. Look, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Nickzieler because the few, 21 games that he did play for the team, or however many games he played wasn't that many.
He played 43.
All right, he played 43 games. In the 43 games that Nickzieler played for the team, he wasn't that horrible, right? I mean, of all the guys, all things considered, he wasn't that horrible.
Absolutely not.
all things considered, right?
I think he got a bad rap. I actually think he got a bad rap. So
all things
I'll
considered, compared to the other guys that we had on the team at the time, Justin Braun and
I got
blah
you.
blah
I
blah
got
blah
you.
blah.
I'll give
right?
you some stats here in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So all things considered, but he was just a guy that was basically a pickup on waivers to fill out your roster so you could put a team out there. So what business are you doing re-signing this guy who shouldn't even be? Maybe he'll play for the Phantoms, but he shouldn't even be on the team. He's taking a spot away from a young kid. What are you doing? Smack! All right, there you go. There's my take.
Well, all right. Well, let's play devil advocate here. I agree.
Course.
I agree. It's taking a spot away from possibly Igor Zumla to come up at this point, but I do like Nickzieler in the capacity that he was supposed to be signed in the first place.
Yeah.
Ryan Ellis went out.
Yeah.
A lot of injuries this
Yeah.
season. Obviously, on the defense, Flyers didn't help themselves any, right? Nickzieler, a left-hand shot defenseman, came in. He was physical. The Flyers needed that. Mm-hmm. He was willing to drop the gloves at some points. He cleared the front of the porch. All things pretty well. Through 43 games, he scored a goal, 2 assists, and 3 points. Not a big point getter, but he was a -3. All right, let's take that.
That's not too bad.
That's not too bad considering how bad this team was.
Like I said,
okay.
All things considered, not too bad.
Right. Who was his partner for most of the year?
I think I mentioned it.
Keith Yandel for most of the year.
Oh,
most of the year, because you got to remember Braun was playing up with Provorov. He was called up there. So
that's true.
So Seeler was playing in Braun's spot on the right side.
Yeah.
So not only was Seeler called up to be more than just a call-up guy because he was playing in half the season, he was playing on his non-dominant side, and he was made to play the right side when he's a left-hand defenseman. All right, that's a strike against him. And for most of the year, he had to play with Keith Yandel, who was a -47. So if you have a guy like that on the other side,
hold on. You're telling me that Keith Yandel was a -47,
-47,
and Seeler was only a -3. Okay.
-3 on the season. It doesn't appear to be that bad when you look at how Seeler played when he's lined up against or with that shoe. That was hard to watch, and Seeler pretty much played what he was. So I'm okay with the Flyers re-signing this guy to be, if he's re-signed, to be what he was supposed to be there for. He's a 7th defenseman. He's a call-up guy that you could send down to the Phantoms, help the younger guys, show them how to play the game the right way, because I do think Nickzieler plays the game the right way.
Yeah, I said all things considered.
All things considered, for $775,000, I'd take that all day if he's not made to be something he's not. Well, all right? Ivan Provorov got paid a lot of money, and he was a -20. Obviously, he's playing top-line minutes versus Nickzieler's third-line minutes, but Nickzieler had one of the best, with Braun going away, he had possibly the best plus-minus of any defenseman on the team, besides Sanheim, I believe. Sanheim was a +9 this season. He was our only He was our only plus defenseman.
Sanheim was a +9.
Ristolainen was a -9.
That's only because Sanheim scored some.
Right. Connaughton was a -3. So, Nickzieler didn't do too darn bad for himself, considering who he was thrown out on the ice with and who he was supposed to be, somebody he's not, playing on his opposite side, playing across from Yandel. So I'm not really, if he comes back and plays that 7th defenseman role and isn't expected to play 43 games this season, I'm all right with that signing.
Okay. Okay, but
If he has to play 10 games or less because of injuries,
the
I'm
fact
okay
that
with
you're
that.
worried about signing a Nickzieler at
But
this
this is
time
the
of the
first,
year,
right? But this is the first move you make.
that's what I
This is
mean.
the first big move of the offseason is signing
Yeah,
back
that's what I
Nickzieler.
mean. So to me, that's how I'm scratching my head. I'm like, so we haven't heard a peep out of you since the exit interviews, and that didn't go well. And now the first thing that comes out is that you signed Nickzieler to 2 years. All right.
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, you know what? How do you think it's gonna get worse? I mean, how much more worse do you think it can get? They don't have a coach. They don't have any star power player, period.
No
I
cap
don't,
space to sign one.
and no cap space to sign one. And nobody wants to take the ugly contracts that we have. Hayes, JVR, name it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nobody wants to take those contracts because those players aren't worth the money they're being paid. Do you know what I mean? So you're not going to be able to move those guys. So you're stuck.
TK, Provorov. Yeah, I mean,
Like I said, and you re-sign these guys to these bigger deals, and now they're not playing up to expectations, and you're like, well, now what?
well, I did an article about that before too, where they sign players too early to contracts
Yeah.
that they haven't earned yet.
Uh-huh.
They're signing them to contracts of the players they want them to be in the future.
Exactly. And Philadelphia has such a horrible reputation for turning players out, man. I mean, you look at the the junior numbers of some of the players that the Flyers have drafted, and it's like, wow, man, these guys are all right, cool. And then they get to the Flyers, and it's like, and well, what happened?
Well, why do you think they have to overpay free agents or restricted free agents? Because of all those reasons.
And then that's why you always see players who leave Philadelphia
and have great success.
have great success. Oh, that's a good
I think
segue.
I think there's probably about 13 to 15 players that ex-Flyers in the playoffs this year.
Okay, if we were counting first round,
Mm-hmm.
there were like 14 or 15 players that were in the playoffs that were ex-Flyers.
Yes.
So right now, currently, you got Pierre-Edouard Bellemare playing for Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You got Nicolas Aube-Kubel playing for Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got Robert Haig, Gudis, Bob, and Giroux playing for Florida.
Pat Maroon.
You got Pat Maroon playing for Tampa Bay, right? And let's see. Nobody on Calgary.
Edmonton.
Right?
Edmonton has, Derek Brassard, but he wasn't really a Flyer for too long. But anyway, a Flyer.
New York has Justin Braun.
Right.
Okay, so that's who's left. That's still a pretty big handful of players that used to play for Philadelphia in the last couple of years.
Especially on Florida, who's doing pretty well with our supposed scrappy players.
Yeah, well, they just lost again tonight at home, and that just doesn't happen, man. Florida lost again at home.
Well, they ran into the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. So
again, this is exactly what happened to them last year. They did. Look, the first thing okay, so Florida, here's how you win the game. Don't start off the first period by going into the penalty box. What do they do in the first 3 minutes of the game? Go into the penalty box. What happens? Tampa Bay scores. Well, you guys weren't supposed to do that. It's like, wow, it's like watching the Flyers. So,
Imagine that.
you know, hey, you're not supposed to do that. What's the first thing they do? Do that. Wait a minute. Okay. So there's quite a few players that are having success in the playoffs right now that are ex-Flyer players, and kudos to them. And Lance, do you have any up-and-comings? Any previews to some new juicy stuff?
I have a couple articles saved onto my desktop right now that I'm working on, and I have quite a few notepads full of random thoughts in the middle of the night that I get up and write down. So just got to get the time to be able to write them, and that'd be great.
There you go. That's awesome. So
should have an article out in the next day or two. Yep.
Okay, there you go. Cool beans. Well, we would like to give a big Hockey Writers Inc. salute out to the Flyers Nitty Gritty group. Thank you guys for all your support, all your help, for helping us post our shows out on the site, and posting Lance's articles and all that other great stuff too. So, listen, here's all you have to do is go to your podcasting platforms like Google or Apple or iHeartRadio, right? And type in Hockey Writers Inc. and we will come up. And then you listen to our show and you give us the 5 stars, and that helps us to get recognized even more. And that helps you to be able to get to hear all these great shows and everything else. So very much thank you to Spreaker, who allows us to, we put it all in one place in Spreaker, and then Spreaker assimilates it out to all the rest of the podcasting world, man. That's how you guys get to hear us. So thank you very much to Spreaker for that. Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can get you, where we can find you, where we can read all your great stuff, my man?
For sure. As always, you can read my articles at flyersnittygritty.com. You can find them on Bleacher Report, on the Flyers section. You can find them on my Twitter page, LNGBASSIST, the numbers 39. They're all posted in our show findings at the description of the show. So, I'm to be had everywhere. I do answer a lot of fan stuff. You can find them on Facebook as well. I'm on there. I'll answer you back if you shoot me a question or comment. I try to answer all my fans or all the people willing to read my articles. Let's say that. Yeah, man. You got to back up the article that if you're the author, you have to back it up. You know what I mean? Author. So the writer extraordinaire, man, thank you very much, Lance, for all the great articles that you put out, and thanks for all the great work that you do here at Hockey Writers Inc. and for the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. Really appreciate all that great stuff. So thank you very much for that. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52, and you can check us out on the web at SteelFlyers.com/link/Hockey Writers Inc. So check us out, and we'll see you guys next time on the Hockey Writers Inc. show, folks. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.